Hello and welcome to another useless movie review, the channel where we shrug our shoulders at the dystopian nightmare that we're living in to watch a dystopian nightmare that might have been. Well, you know, it's better than real life. There are more so-called stars involved, there's more explosions, and there's more coherent script. But fear not, dear viewer, I would never insult you with a coherent script. And with that in mind, we bid adieu to the real world, while I regale you with a barely acceptable attempt to tell the story which is The Thing. Now, long before chickens became extinct, the last vestiges of Earth's survivors from the alien invasion of the distant 90s were cast out of things called countries to live mostly on Antarctica. Meals had devolved into imported insects in a steamed pudding incorrectly labelled spotted dick, or they had become a meat delicacy called dog a la carte. Here at Dingleberry Station, they've erred on the doggy side of the meal equation and had chosen dogs to be bred and exported for meat. Dog had become quite a delicacy for those that couldn't afford other meat, in a similar way to how caviar was a poor man's food until the hoi polloi figured it was suitably stupid to put on crackers and serve at parties. But admittedly, caviar is harder to shoot. On the plus side though, it won't shit on your mother-in-law's carpet. But I digress. The great thing about slaughtering animals in Antarctica was the meat could be immediately chilled for export and the fur could warm your spotted dick. But so as not to have a hard, stringy meat, the animal is allowed to free range for a time before being culled, much like the humans of today. Unfortunately, having so few crew members means there's often multitasking involved, and the only person available to make this morning's cull was short-sighted Bob, and he's not having much luck completing today's assignment. Meanwhile, our heroes are comfortable in the base, either reading a book or playing with their balls. Since the invasion, relaxing has become mandatory, and no one has been allowed to even say the word attack, as this was the rallying cry against the alien invaders, and now it's a trigger for killing anything in sight. So they try to avoid this word like the plague. And this sadly is why poor old chess wizard has to be put down for mounting an attack against other chess pieces. To be fair, she hadn't actually said attack, but she was winning and that was close enough. Unfortunately, she was the only multitasking female member of the Dingleberry base, so the news will come hard to her colleagues, which is ironically not what they'll be doing from now on, if you catch my drift. Meanwhile, back at the hunt, short-sighted Bob has to admit defeat, and they guide the dog home for the night. But the Antarctic life is harsh, and anyone that can't do their job is pretty much dead weight. The truly unfortunate thing is he was the only person who knew how to fix windows around the camp, so it looks to be a cold night in the mess. On the plus side, at least the lads' minds will be kept off Chess Wizard for a while. While Radio Man tries unsuccessfully to call in an emergency glazier to HQ, the rest of the flight crew take a chopper to look for provisions. Eventually, they find another downed saucer on the ice and go to scavenge for supplies, but soon enough, back at base, they unload their sorry excuse for a stash. It had already been picked clean by marauding penguins, and all they had to show was some melted aluminium for their efforts. And another copy of that computer game called Chase That Blob. But to be honest, most people would rather have a mild seizure than actually play it. That night, to alleviate the stress of the day, the team take it in turns to drive the snow machine over various obstacles put in its way. Tonight, it's fuel and snow piles. But their petty attempts to stop the machine are no match, and by the time day breaks, it's now out of fuel, and just when Bennings turns up to say Doc's ready for his driving test again. Doc doesn't take too kindly to being told they can't do it today. This was his 43rd attempt to get his license, and he was sure he'd get it this time. Everyone's been on edge lately. And case in point, when asked what's in his hand, Mac looks at the pin and says, "It looks like some sort of attack." Well, it's not long before flamethrowers and dynamite take over for the pleases and thank yous, and it's on for young and old. Having blown up most of the camp, they decide to rig the basement too for good measure. So they set the charges, but seem to be mysteriously picked off one by one. Or are they? Yes, they are. And just as he's ready to blow the dynamite, Mac finds there's an alien hiding there all along. So there's nothing left to do but blow up Alien with the rest of the base. And what follows is a spectacular display that would make even Michael Bay proud. Mac somehow survives his own personal Armageddon unscathed though, and later that night, after the romantic flames have died down, he realizes he's not alone. Childs asks if it was Mac who blew it all up, and after his reply comes in the affirmative, they have a brief exchange about the alien in the basement. Childs asks how he knows if it was an alien, or if Mac hadn't just hallucinated and killed them all himself. "I know what I saw," Mac growls. "Are you sure?" says Childs. "Doc's been medicating the alcohol around here for months, and to be honest, I've been dead since Thursday." The end. Well, I hope this story taught you a valuable lesson about mixing drugs with alcohol when playing with explosives after an alien invasion in Antarctica. And if it hasn't, there's always next time. If you've enjoyed a snippet or two of this debacle, do consider pressing something hereabouts and joining me next time for a breathtakingly inadequate movie review. But for now, adieu.